This is Greg Rust, Director for Photography, Xavier University. 3 years ago, I was in Tucson on assignment for Xavier magazine. At breakfast, a man with a long braid and leather jacket seated next to me noticed the Kentucky Quarter Horse logo on my ball cap. Our mutual interest in horses led to a conversation and eventually an invitation to visit his home in Montana and to ride horses with members of his tribe, the Cheyenne. That summer, and the two after that, I spent my vacation in Lame Deer, Montana, on the Northern Cheyenne Reservation with my new friend, Dennis Limberhand. We explored on horseback, visited historic sites, and camped in a teepee. All the while, I absorbed the history and culture of the Cheyenne. My profession tends to follow me wherever I go, so with some encouragement from Dennis, I began documenting my visits with my camera. By making these images for the tribe, we could help preserve traditions and keep the youth of the tribe aware of their rich heritage. A spiritual man, Dennis agreed how well this aligned with the mantra of the Jesuits, men and women for others. This past summer, Dennis and I attended the annual 4th of July Chiefs Powwow and Rodeo in Lame Deer. The town of Lame Deer is located about 30 miles east of the historic Greasy Grass Battlefield, more commonly known as the Battle of the Little Bighorn. On a visit to the battlefield, Dennis and I climbed the embankment to Custer's monument. On that infamous ridge, Dennis knelt down by a red marble marker that was inscribed to his great-grandfather, who had been killed in 1876. Most are aware of the sad story of systematic genocide that culminated in the corralling of these nomadic cultures. The Cheyenne barely survived this onslaught. After their historic victory with the Lakota over Custer, they were nearly exterminated to avenge the death of the blonde colonel. But this proud horse-based culture did survive, and rodeos are a way to exhibit their horsemanship skills in these modern times. These Indian cowboys compete for prize money and belt buckles in many events, with the most crowd-pleasing being the bronc or bull riding. The powwow is a social gathering that probably evolved out of the victory celebrations after battles, where singing, dancing, and stories of bravery were told long into the night. At powwows, the families display their finest beadwork and intricate feathered outfits. It is a time to bond and rekindle friendships. It's also a time to honor elders and loved ones who passed, with a giveaway or a feast. Time to acknowledge special achievements, such as this year's historic accomplishment of Lieutenant Micah Highwalker. The first Cheyenne to graduate from West Point, Highwalker is following the path of her grandmother, who is a veteran of World War II. The powwow circuit has become an intertribal event that sparks competitions in singing, dance, and costumes. Prize money rewards the best of each class, but educating the youth of the tribe in their native traditions is priceless. Each day started with a flag-raising ceremony that would be followed by honoring ceremonies and giveaways, then the grand entry later in the day. The dancers would gather and excitement built for the grand entry, as all ages paraded into the powwow arbor. Prayers are made and veterans are honored with the first dance. One can't help but notice the irony of the Indians dressed in their military uniforms holding American flags, contrasted by others in traditional beaded deer-hide clutching eagle-feathered staffs. For the Cheyenne, their fierce warrior societies have reemerged in the defense of their homeland now under the American flag. Their support of the U.S. military actually helped Native peoples gain citizenship after so many volunteered for service in World War I. These people's ancestors populated this land centuries longer than our nation has celebrated its birthday. It was refreshing to witness the resilience and pride of the Cheyenne. This 4th of July weekend touched me as no firework display ever has. Fighting back the need to atone history, I was thankful to have been so warmly welcomed by a people who are still struggling for their own well-being. Each evening at the powwow, Dennis and I would retire to our tent pitched beneath a small grove of choke cherry and wild plum trees. We would smoke a cigar or just sit by the campfire listening to the singing and drumming, and drift back to a more innocent time. For Xavier magazine, this is Greg Rust.